नमस्कार, कार्यक्रम रूपान्तरणमा तपाईलाई स्वागत छ। म प्रकाश घिमिरे। हामी यो रूपान्तरण कार्यक्रममा समष्टिगत विकाससँग जोडिएका विशिष्टीकृत विषयवस्तुमा विवेचना छलफल गर्छौं अनि यस सम्बन्धीका विविध सामग्री प्रस्तुत गर्छौं। आजको कार्यक्रममा हामीले न्याय, शान्ति र मेलमिलाप सम्बन्धीको विषयवस्तु उठान गर्दैछौं। मेलमिलापलाई हाम्रो न्याय प्रणालीले पनि कानुनी मान्यता प्रदान गरेको छ। मेलमिलाप चाहे समुदाय स्तरमा होस् अर्थात् न्यायपालिकामा नै अर्थात् अदालतमा नै किन नहोस्, यो कानुनी मान्यता प्राप्त न्याय प्रदान गर्ने औजारको रूपमा स्थापित भइसकेको छ। यदि यसलाई प्रभावकारी ढङ्गले हामीले प्रयोगमा ल्याउन सक्यौं अर्थात् यसको अभ्यास गर्न सक्यौं भने यसले समुदायलाई शीघ्र, सरल र सहज ढङ्गले न्याय प्रदान गर्न सक्छ र त्यसले गर्दा समुदायमा हुने द्वन्द्वहरूको निरूपण गर्न पनि सजिलो हुन्छ भन्ने मान्यता राखिन्छ, जुन मान्यता विश्वभरि नै छ। यसै सेरोफेरोमा केही समय अगाडि नेपालमा यसै विषय सम्बन्धीको एउटा कार्यक्रम भएको थियो, जुन कार्यक्रममा विश्वका विभिन्न देशका व्यक्तिहरूले सहभागिता जनाउनु भएको थियो र त्यो कार्यक्रममा नेपाल लगायत विश्वका खास गरी द्वन्द्वोत्तर मुलुकहरूमा यसको अभ्यास कस्तो छ भन्ने बारेमा विभिन्न अनुभवहरू आदान प्रदान गरिएको थियो। सोही कार्यक्रममा भाग लिन आएका एकजना मेलमिलाप सम्बन्धीका अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय विज्ञ क्रिस स्पाइससँग हामीले कुराकानी गरेका छौं। त्यही कुराकानी आजको रूपान्तरणमा हामी प्रस्तुत गर्छौं। क्रिसलाई हामीले सबैभन्दा पहिले खास गरी शान्ति र न्यायका लागि अनि द्वन्द्वको निरूपणका लागि मेलमिलापको भूमिका कस्तो हुन्छ भन्ने प्रश्न सोधेका थियौं।
Conflict is part of life, and conflict is not necessarily bad. Destructive conflict is a bad thing. So conflict, I think, is an expression of unmet human needs. And when there are no systems and structures, or if the societal norms on how to deal with conflict has been eroded, or you have pressure from outside, or you've got a disaster, it means that the societal structure is being disrupted. And that's where mediation comes in. Mediation provides that container, that safe space, but it's often an uncomfortable safe space, where people could come into that space and guided by a process that has been tried and tested and that is still developing, the mediator assists, or the mediation team assists parties to come to their own agreements. Now, whether that leads to peace, hopefully, and there are many cases where peace was restored. So the relationship between peace, conflict and mediation, it's part of the same family. And peace is often disturbed again by conflict. But if the mediation systems are in place, you could always come through it.
Can we say mediation is the means to transfer the conflict in peace?
Yes, I think that is an accurate description. It's definitely one approach. Not all cases are mediatable, but mediation is a very empowering approach to deal with conflict, because in mediation, the parties themselves have control. The moment you lose that control and somebody else decides for you, you give up that control and you have little influence on what will happen next.
Who is the actor of mediation? Everyone of the society can be the actor of the mediations, or particular expert can be only can be the actor of the mediation?
It depends on what type of conflict you're talking about. Like we've just heard in the conference now, if it's a specialized issue like commercial mediation, I don't think anybody can do that. You need quite intensified or specific training on how to deal with it. But in terms of one-on-one conflicts or community conflicts or even political conflict, I think it is not restricted to people with a particular stature to do that. Anybody who has an ability to listen and who is trusted by people as somebody that can conduct a process with wisdom could step into that space. I also like to just say that in the old days, the concept was that an external third party should come and mediate. But we see more and more that the concept of insider mediators, where in group mediation you would find insiders part of that conflict that realize that things cannot continue, and they begin to form alliances, working on the process, but still pushing their points of view from the outside. So you've seen that in Kenya, and you've seen that in South Africa, and you're seeing it in Myanmar and other places. And maybe we grow into mediation. But the initiative can be taken by everybody, but not everybody is capable of actually running with the process up till the end.
How mediation is connected to the justice?
The reason why many mediators in Nepal began to love the whole issue of mediation is because they saw that the courts don't always bring justice. The courts decide who is right and who is wrong, but justice depends on, doesn't depend only on the law. Justice depends on how you feel, whether you were receiving a just deal or not. And in that sense, mediation really creates that space where I can say I'm not satisfied, or I can say that for me to feel that I can move on with my life, X, Y, and Z needs to happen.
Mediation is needed in armed conflict society. Is it correct?
Definitely. How else can you bring warring parties to a table other than through Sambad and Melmilab? You've got to use mediation to do that. But mediation goes much beyond just a violent conflict. You can use it in many other respects.
What is the experience of South Africa? Because South Africa is taken as one of the best examples that managed its internal conflict, and the conflict is transferred in the peace process. As a result, the country is in the way of progress and prosperity. What is the experience of South Africa regarding the use of mediations to go to the destinations of peace?
Well, as you know, we were really stuck in a very destructive system, and we had states of emergency, we had mass killings, we had uprisings, and we had a minority government that stayed in power because they oppressed other people. And interestingly enough, I think the whole concept of in the last 30, 40 years developed in the labor field, where some people who knew about labor mediation and labor negotiations came to South Africa and helped us to understand how that worked.
Labor mediation means
like mine workers and civil servants. Because in our situation, the people organized themselves in labor unions. So that was the site of struggle in South Africa. Sometimes violent struggle, and it was repressed by government forces all the time. So I think the origins of mediation in our recent history was through negotiations on the labor front, and from there the concept of mediation became introduced. I mean, when I started out in the 80s, 1986, 87, it was just the early days. I didn't know about a science called conflict transformation and mediation, and I was already almost 30 years old. So since then, there was a growing awareness that we can solve our problems through peaceful ways and not only through violent ways. That journey of ours had, I think, peaked around 1994 when we had our transition to democracy. But what was unique, I think, and like in the case of Nepal, there was no external mediator. The USA sent Henry Kissinger, and the Brits sent Lord Carrington, and the Kenyans sent Professor Okomo Washington. And the two people from Britain and the USA left the very next day because the South Africans told them, we can work on our own stuff. And the professor from Kenya was very instrumental in helping to bring on board one of the factions that were not willing to come into the peace process. So, and since then, what has happened is that the National Peace Accord structures in 1992 to 94 was a very important mechanism to deal with community conflict, with regional conflicts, and also working on national conflict. But those structures were demolished or dismantled in the first parliament, which was led by President Mandela. And now, currently, we don't have a mechanism like Nepal. We don't have a mediation council. We don't have the kind of laws that you have. I think that it's beginning to happen, but we don't have at a national scale this awareness that mediation is the way to go.
The mediation concept or the importance of mediation is rooted in the mind of the peoples. That the peoples are taking the mediation as one of the very important tools that can ensure or that can contribute for the harmony of the society and to build the peaceful society.
There are definitely people who still have that mindset, but I'm afraid that I think currently in our political situation, very few people think about constructive mediation in the sense that we have been talking about. I think our concept is more the concept of resolving conflicts peacefully through whatever ways we could do that. As I said earlier, there were negotiations, there were backroom dialogues that happened, but we never had a formal mediated situation. So I'm not so sure that in the minds of South Africans we all connect the concept of mediation to our situation. I think we are priding ourselves in the fact that somehow, we don't know actually how, we were able to pull ourselves up our own bootstraps.
You have been also conducting some research and you have been doing studies related to mediation here in Nepal as well. What is your observation and what is your opinion regarding the mediation practice and its structure, system here in Nepal?
Yeah, my work in Nepal has not been formally about research only. I was part of the Asia Foundation's action research work with community mediators as they shifted from being equipped from working with one-on-one mediations to a situation where they had to work on multi-stakeholder mediations. And from what I could see is that there is a tremendous eagerness and a tremendous potential for mediation to grow. And what we have done is that, and I think the Asia Foundation has been marvelous in doing this, is that the concept of Melmilap and Sambad have been indigenized. It has been Nepalized. So it's not somebody from America or South Africa who came to tell them about mediation. They listened carefully to what the science said about mediation, but they used their own words and their own methods and they wrote their own manuals. And I was privileged to be involved in a tiny part of that towards last year and the year before. So I am quite confident that with the current situation where you have more than 7,000 mediators who obviously need constant training and constant support. With that situation, if you keep learning the lessons that you have learned, I think there is a bright future.
Yeah, but is mediation a legal term or it's political terms or beyond the politics and legal system or legal areas?
I think there's always a contest on who claims the word. The law may claim that it's theirs. But for me, mediation is a human concept. I mean, we mustn't forget that for thousands of years, Nepalis have been mediating their conflicts. Human beings have found ways to sort out their problems. And now suddenly, some people come along and say that's mediation or that's dialogue. I think it's wrong to restrict it to that. I think we need to rehumanize people in the process, and I don't care so much what we call it. I care very much about igniting people's imagination, that the brokenness and the fragmentation and the dehumanizing character of conflict can be transformed into something that brings healing, and that brings rehumanization, that brings dignity. And if you do that through mediation, fantastic. If dialogue contributes to it, if negotiation contributes to that, if Barta contributes to that, Barta, Sambad, Melmilap, do what you need to do, and don't claim the concept as like a golden wand. Yes, I get sometimes a bit irritated when you find so-called experts coming to a country and said, have you heard about the latest approach? Whether it's appreciative inquiry or whether it's democratic dialogue or whether it's, I always take a step back and say, people have been doing this all the time, so don't come with concepts and force it upon people. Help people to link to what they are already doing and make them feel proud about what they have achieved, and help them to take the next step in improving that. What you call it, I'm not so much worried about that.
If so, mediation is not only limited in legal justice system as well, rather it is connected to the social justice system as well.
Exactly. I mean, mediation applies even to marriage relationships, and between a father and his son, and a mother and his son and a daughter. So at all levels you can use mediation.
To promote the justice and peace through mediation, do you think the mediation should be institutionalized or communitized? I mean, or socialized?
There's a term that we use, infrastructures for peace. If you build a building, you have scaffolding that allows you to build the building. In the same way, you need a scaffolding for peace. And that is the institutionalization of this thing. If a country provides an institution such as Ghana's National Peace Council, or way back in South Africa when we had the National Peace Accord system, or Nepal that has got a national, that you've got a mediation council, it provides a platform and access for normal, ordinary people to access mediation, and that is wonderful and that's fantastic. So yes, to build a culture of mediation, I would definitely support the idea of institutionalization of mediation. But the danger is that it can get bureaucratized. And if that happens, you lose the essence of this mediation, because then it gets caught in bureaucratic and also political battles. As long as it's independent, so if you have in your constitution, if there is a way, or in your laws there is a way that the institutionalized system for mediation could be independent but supported by government and everybody else, I would feel really I would be in support of that.
How can people of the society, a post-conflict country like Nepal, be benefited more with the mediation?
Mediation, Melmilap, Sambad, are the real purpose of that is to bring rehumanization and healing. You had a transition, but you have not really dealt with the pain of the past and with the legacy of what people had done to each other. You have not really gotten to the root of why some people are still discriminated against, for instance, in Nepal. So how people can benefit is that you basically stop talking about mediation as addressing just specific conflicts and getting agreements to solve disputes. It is actually helping a country to be stronger together to deal with their conflicts in the future. I think Nepal could be very proud of people like yourselves who take the message of mediation and put it out there on the radio, in the newspapers, on television. The more that happens, the better. I always say that the media are the first three letters. The first three letters of media are the first three letters of mediate. You get it? MEDITE. The first three letters, media, of media, are the first letters of mediate. So if the media understands that role well, and if you wake up every morning thinking about whether what you report today contributes to mediation or not, this country will go a long way. And I've even gone a little further, and I would say that the last three letters of media are DIA. Those are the first three letters of dialogue. So the media can either make a peace process and mediation, or you can break it. One irresponsible break of confidence or one irresponsible article can set back years of work in mediation. So I would like to encourage you all in Nepal, especially the media, to play your role in understanding the root causes, the process of mediation, and promote that as much as possible.
It means we are talking about peace and justice through mediation, and the mediation can be promoted through media as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
In your opinion, do you think the Nepalese media is playing the role to promote the mediation or to transfer the conflict in peace process as you are expecting and thinking?
That is not scientific at all. I'm just giving an opinion based on people that I've spoken to. I've spoken to incredible media people, even last night, who told me how passionate they are about dialogue and how they would like to promote it. But at the same time, they would also complain about their colleagues in the media who has to have a job and who has to produce every day, and sometimes the temptation to report a story first and then verify later takes precedence over rigorous getting down to the root causes. So I think it's a mixed bag. I think you have incredible people, and when I did some work for the United Nations Development Program, we did have workshop with editors. And it was actually those editors that said that the word sambad needs to be dusted off. And now suddenly I'm hearing of sambad being used more and more and more. So the role of the media playing that. But as I say, it's a mixed bag. I'm also hearing of cases where the reporting is not up to the standard, and so hence my encouragement to the media to really get interested in this thing of mediation and process wisdom, procreate wisdom.
दर्शकवृन्द, यो कुराकानीको सार के हो भने समाजमा द्वन्द्व गतिशील छ, यो द्वन्द्व रहिरहन्छ। यदि द्वन्द्वलाई सकारात्मक ढङ्गले व्यवस्थापन गर्न सकियो भने यो विकासको अवसर हो, तर यसलाई व्यवस्थापन गर्न सकिएन भने यो विकासको बाधक पनि हो। अर्को कुरा, जब समाजमा अन्याय हुन्छ तब द्वन्द्व बढ्दै जान्छ र त्यस्तो द्वन्द्वलाई व्यवस्थापन गर्न पनि गाह्रो हुन्छ। त्यसैले यदि मेलमिलापलाई हामीले सशक्त ढङ्गले राख्न सक्यौँ भने, अर्थात् त्यसको अभ्यास गर्न सक्यौँ भने, त्यसले समाजलाई न्याय प्रदान गर्न सघाउँछ अनि सरल, सहज र शीघ्र न्याय प्रदान गर्छ, जसको प्रत्यक्ष असर द्वन्द्व निरूपणमा परिराखेको हुन्छ। त्यसैले मेलमिलापको महत्त्व हाम्रो जस्तो देशमा अत्यन्त धेरै बढ्दै गएको छ भन्ने आजको छलफलको निष्कर्ष हो। अनि अर्को कुरा, नेपालमा भएको जुन मेलमिलापको अभ्यास छ त्यो निकै प्रभावकारी छ र यसलाई अझ प्रभावकारी ढङ्गले अगाडि बढाउन सकिन्छ भन्ने कुरा पनि आजको छलफलको निष्कर्ष हो। हवस् त, यही निष्कर्षका साथ आजको रूपान्तरण कार्यक्रम यहीँ टुङ्गिन्छ। अर्को हप्ता फेरि तपाईँ हाम्रो भेटघाट हुन्छ। आजलाई रूपान्तरण युनिट बिदा माग्दछ। नमस्कार।